You are now listening to The Perfect Prana with Kyah Ann. What's poppin'? What's good? You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX. I'm your host, Kyah Ann, and a yoga enthusiast. If you love yoga, this is the perfect place to be. And if you do not love yoga, this is still the perfect place to be because I have the usual up for you today. Yoga news, where I speak about yoga controversies, what's going on in the yoga world, what's going on in the world, and how does it relate to yoga. Yoga Hills, where I bring on a very special guest and speak to them about their practice, and the weekly wellness challenge, which is pretty self-explanatory. But before we get into all of that, let's center ourselves. Let's take this moment to go inward, to focus on our breath, to focus on our prana. Prana translating to breath as in the breath of life, our life energy source. There's a lot of translations. So no matter where you're at, if you're driving in the car, laying in your bed, walking in the park, sitting on your porch, sitting on the couch. There's a lot of different options. Bring awareness to your entire body. Notice your breath. Notice the depth of your breath. Notice where your breath goes as you inhale and where you expel it from. Notice the air on your skin, on what's exposed. Notice how the cloth feels against your skin, the softness of it, the warmth. Notice all your senses. What do you feel? What do you taste? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? Become present in the moment. And then sit up nice and tall, lengthen your spine. Create a nice line of energy from your tailbone to your crown so breath can effortlessly move through you. Take a deep inhale and shrug your shoulders all the way up to your ears. And as you exhale, drop your shoulders and sigh it out. Lifting your heart, opening up your chest. Soften your gaze maybe, or close your eyes. Drop all expression from your face. Relax your jaw, relax your eyebrows. And take a deep inhale through your nose, right into your belly. And exhale to sigh it out like Take a deep inhale through your nose, filling up all the way, letting the breath travel up your spine. Feeling stillness in your entire body, and exhale to sigh it out, letting the breath leave your chest, your rib cage, your belly, and push it all out, empty out completely. And take a deep inhale. Let the breath travel past your belly, past your rib cage, into your lungs. And exhale to sigh it out from your throat. Emptying your chest, emptying your belly. Take a nice smooth inhale and take an even longer exhale. And expel whatever you do not need. Bring your breath back to a steady rhythm. I am centered. Yoga news. This week's yoga news: surface warfare officer attempts to break world record running from Los Angeles to New York in 40 days. Lieutenant Paul Johnson, he is on active duty for the U.S. Navy. So he is a veteran, and he's working with this non-for-profit organization, Team Red, White, and Blue. And their mission is to help veterans be healthier and deal with the loneliness epidemic for veterans through physical activity and just, health practices. And Paul Johnson, he decided to run 3,000 miles to raise awareness and help raise money for this organization. Like the other day, I spent my entire morning following this. I was looking at his videos on social media, reading up about it, and I was just really perplexed by the fact that he was doing this, it came up on my timeline and I was like, what? So yeah, I was just, looking at it heavily. He's running through a lot of cities. He has his route posted, and there are people that, when he runs through their city, they go run with him. This is like a Forrest Gump moment, basically. But they go run with him. A lot of people bring him stuff, and he's just basically vlogging the entire journey. What does this have to do with yoga? We'll make it relate. We'll make it tie in. But, first of all, I was just interested in this. It came up on my feed the other day, and I did a deep dive into his story and to why he was doing this. And I'm looking at this non-for-profit Team Red, White, and Blue. And just, okay, so they are here to help veterans live a healthier lifestyle, focusing on mental and physical health for veterans. This show, the Perfect Prana Show, I'm here focusing on mental and physical health for everybody, and for myself, because everybody deserves good mental and physical health. And I wish everybody could have that. And I'm sure everybody wishes that they could have that themselves and for their loved ones and whatnot. My hot take is that doing extreme challenges like these can at times be counterproductive to mental and physical health. And I think, okay, like I said, he should do this. He's raising money, bringing awareness to his organization and his beliefs. That's great. But I'm just saying, for us normal people, sometimes counterproductive. And it has its place. I feel like we have to go to both extremes sometimes. I went to my extreme of being super active. I'll just say, in the case of being active, I went to my extreme where I was like, I am going to make sure I have this goal. I'm going to finish this goal, and I'm not going to let myself rest till I finish this goal. I'm every single day. I don't care what's happening in my life. I'm doing this. This is every single day. That has its place. Sometimes that fire, that attitude, that passion, that motivation, it's necessary. And we use our full energy, our use of full energy, and just going our hardest is necessary, and having this challenge and doing the challenge. And then I've also been on the extreme where I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I don't care. I don't want to do anything to self-improve. I don't want to do anything for my mental or physical health. All I want to do is lay in bed and eat ramen and do whatever I was doing. But I will say that both of those extremes were necessary for me to be where I'm at today, and to just really develop as a human being, as a woman, as a yogi, as a healthy adult, or somebody that's trying to be a healthy adult. So yeah, that's just kind of what I had to say about that. Even with yoga, I've even realized we can go extreme with this. And I actually saw this post on Instagram the other day where, so there's this quote where it's yoga every damn day. I hope I can say that on the radio. And this post actually crossed that out. It was said something like yoga when you feel like it, or when it's good for you, or blah blah. I can't remember exactly what it said, but I'm there. I used to, and okay, I will say this, I do practice yoga every day. I'm gonna do something every day, but that's from my understanding and way. Even if it's just 5 minutes, or I'm just gonna get on my mat and do child's pose, or I'm just gonna stretch my hands up and focus on my breathing for the day. I'm just gonna sit there and breathe. Yeah, yoga every damn day. But one thing that I know that I'm not gonna do, and that's not conducive for good mental and physical health, is doing a yoga practice at the same intensity every single day. I know that I'm not going to practice inversions every single day. I'm not going to be trying to do a handstand every single day. I'm not going to be doing 10 sun salutations and getting super out of breath and just going crazy every single day. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Some days I have it. There's a lot of days that I have it. Some days I don't though. Some days I do not have the energy for that. Things happening in my life. Some days I don't have the time for that. Some days I have to give my time to other areas in my life. My physical activity level is really important, but there's a lot of other important things in life too, and I have to recognize and be flexible and know when to and when not to. But again, there's a happy balance and a happy medium when it comes to that. So that's just what I wanted to say for that. But shout out to Paul Johnson. So far, what I've read, he is not going to make the full 3,000 miles in 40 days. He's already behind schedule, and he's definitely dealing with a lot of pain, and he's had an injury so far that he's, recovery issues, and he's had trouble getting in enough calories and just a lot of stuff. Again, that's why I said sometimes doing extreme things like this is not conducive to mental or physical health, but I understand his sentiment and I'm there with him, and it's cool that he's doing this. But yeah, I hope that he finishes the full 3,000 miles, because I will say, when you do a challenge that is really challenging and even extreme and you finish it, that does boost confidence for a second. It makes you feel good about yourself. Dopamine, serotonin. You're like, wow, I'm powerful. I've done amazing things. But like I said, it never stops. The journey doesn't end. Once you get past that finish line, you still got to keep doing stuff. There is no end. So don't exhaust yourself on your journey. There's no need to, especially for us normies, as normal people. But right now, I have been tracking his run. He's currently in New Mexico, and he's on his 13th day, and he is going to pass through my hometown, St. Louis. So that's going to be cool. If you want to run with him, if you're a runner, go run with him, and then practice some yoga after. The other yoga news that I wanted to talk about is this past week, March 14th, which was Thursday, was National Write Your Story Day. This day challenges you to tell your story in a written form. I love journaling. I love my journal. I find a lot of value in that, and I just like the fact that it was National Write Your Story Day. Even though it's not March 14th when you're hearing this, you can still observe this challenge. You can tell your story in written form. You don't have to publish it. You can get on your keyboard or just get your journal and tell the story about your life. Basically writing a biography of yourself, which is pretty cool, I may never have a biography written about me unless I write it. And I think it is cool to have a biography written about yourself. And I might not be Beyonce or whoever people deem as super important, but I am important to myself. And my story deserves to be told. So I'm going to create and write my story, and maybe I'll even go back and read my story years from now and be like, so that's what my biography is like. And I don't know, it's cool. But I think it's fun to take trips down memory lane, reflect on your own life, and to just see how far you've come, see what you've been through, write the good things, write the bad things, write everything, write about your relationships, things that really just changed you and made you who you are today. Like your own little autobiography. You don't have to share it, or you can share it if you want, no pressure. But I think that this concept is cool, and and maybe if you write it, and you could make it into a book, and you could be the New York's bestseller, I don't know. But I think though, we all have really interesting stories, so we should definitely write them down. And I don't know, I just feel like that's a very yogic thing to do. Actually, part of yoga philosophy is self-study. Studying self and studying past philosophers and people of the past that are smart. So, but definitely the self-study. Study yourself. And then when you write your story down, you might be surprised what you find out or what you realize about yourself or your own life. So yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a cool thing to celebrate. Yoga Hills. This week's guest, Julia Perkins. She is the owner and the founder of a Southside yoga studio, Studio Yogi. She has been practicing yoga for nearly 12 years, and she's all about making yoga accessible for every body. She has been serving Chicago, the community, and the world in many ways, and she still continues to do so. So let's get on with the interview. Hey, Julia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. And yourself? Thank you for having me on the show or podcast, as they would say.
I'm doing good too. I'm enjoying the weather. I officially claimed springtime, so I'm happy and blessed to be here. What I always start off asking my guest is, when did you start practicing yoga and why do you still practice today?
Well, I started practicing about 16 years ago because it was around the time I was diagnosed with osteoarthritis. And I had been an avid racquetball player and bike rider. And there's a difference between a rider and a cyclist. I was a rider, but my knees were just not able to do what it used to do. And so I wanted to find a practice that would still be stimulating and that I could engage with. And I happened upon yoga.
Okay, and then why do you still practice yoga today?
Oh, I just love the yoga. It helps in terms of bringing kind of harmony and balance to my mind, body, and spirit. I like yoga because of the community it tends to engender. Just like today, I was in the studio, there was a group of us there for the 6 a.m. hot yoga class, and it was community. I mean, everyone knew one another. I think there was a new person there. We welcomed her with open arms. It was just really wonderful. It was a sense of community. So, for those reasons, I am wedded to yoga.
Yes. I guess my question for you is you said that you started practicing because you were dealing with this arthritis. Uh so you could have just like done stretches or movements or physical therapy for arthritis. What's the difference between that and actually practicing yoga?
Well, I did go through physical therapy, as a matter of fact, and they just give you exercises to do to kind of help the situation, or at least not to make it worse. But yoga was a little different. I like movement, I like the flow. And so when I encountered yoga, especially vinyasa yoga, because that's what I'm certified in, that, the breath to movement was just very soothing. I was able to engage in it the way that I had engaged with, let's say, racquetball, for instance. They're different practices, right? Physical therapy is designed to help you navigate with whatever that limitation is. Yoga is it's not designed that way per se. It's really to focus on, for vinyasa, breath to movement, because there are different schools of yoga, and vinyasa is connected to Ashtanga and Iyengar yoga, which is all goes back to Hatha yoga. So it was kind of that a movement that threads through, even though each of the styles are different.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much for sharing with me about why you practice and just your path to practicing. What I'd like to know about next is more, what's part of your philosophies and your mission?
So my mission, well, I had been a consultant for about 25 years working with nonprofits, and I still do my consultancy work. Um, but I wanted to open up. This is getting to my philosophy. I wanted to open up a yoga studio that was inclusive and welcoming for all. I used to have to travel to studios to enjoy kind of that community and practice. And I said, well, why can't we have one in South Shore? Hence, Studio Yogi was birthed. In terms of my philosophy, because there are a couple of philosophies, my philosophy about yoga is that regardless of your limitations, that you can engage in yoga. I mean, we all have different, what is it, range of motion. We all have some type of limitation in our body. And you can use yoga to maximize that posture in your body. Like your warrior two would be different than mine, and that's perfectly fine. I might need to have some props to help me do, some pose, and you may not. And that is just fine because our bodies are different and we could still experience and garner the same benefit from that posture. Then, yeah. So, and it's also, I think a lot of people look at the aesthetics of yoga. It could be really beautiful. You're flowing in a vinyasa style, or you're holding that asana for a longer time in a hatha or shanga practice. It's it's really about having your body embrace the pose, whatever that looks like to you, because all of our bodies are different. But it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy, we can't benefit from putting our body in that particular posture, whatever that looks like for us. So
Yeah.
that is kind of my philosophy. I was a long-winded way to get there. About yoga. I mean, yoga is for everyone. And there's not a this is the perfect way you do it. Well, my body is not perfect. Your body is not perfect. We get into the pose the best way that works for our body.
Yes, ma'am. I'm a strong believer in the pose is for my body. My body is not for the pose. Pose is to
Ex-
help me open up and to
exactly
be
right.
more mobile or whatever the case is, be stronger. What I wanted to ask you, I feel driven just to ask you this is, has your relationship with yoga changed since you first started? And if so, how?
Well, I think initially it was more for the physical aspect. Um, but as I learned more about yoga, I also started to embrace the meditative part, which was really a foundation to yoga from the beginning. Um, I also pay much more attention to my breath, doing breathing exercises, really trying to focus my thoughts on my breathing. And so when I started, even though you would do breath to movement, yeah, 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 I wasn't paying that much attention. Now I'm truly intentional in terms of my breathing, and I'm intentional in terms of making space to meditate. It could be for 5 minutes. I used to think, oh, you have to meditate for such a long period. You meditate the way you want to meditate. Whatever that, just like in, making the posture work for your body, whatever that meditation looks like for you, that's your meditation. It's just making sure in your life, in your day, that you've carved out, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 30 minutes, just to be able to withdraw your senses inward, focus on your breath, release, and think, and just be.
How has your sitting practice or meditation practice really impacted you or helped you?
Well, I think that it helps me put more things in perspective. Some would say that that's could be equated with age, so maybe they're working hand in hand. But I think that I'm calmer for the most part. I'm not overreactive um, most of the time. I think sometimes it depends on who you talk to. They say, "Oh no, she is overreactive," but I just think that it makes me be more at peace with myself. And at the end of the day, for me, that's really important to be at peace with who I am, what I do, the actions that I have engaged in throughout the day, to be at peace at the end of the day that I lived my life that day in the way that I wanted to live my life.
Have you ever meditated and found that you weren't at peace with it, or you were like, no, it was just.
Well, again, I think that, there are different forms of meditation, and I meditate the way that I want to meditate because that's about me and my meditation, just as though yoga is about me and my movement. So, yeah, it doesn't wash away the concerns, but I think that it makes you, at least it makes me more focused on, all right, these are the things that I need to do to really have been intentional and contemplative about it rather than being reactionary to something, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, ma'am. It does. Okay, my next question for you is, so I know you got deeper into the practice of yoga beyond just the physical aspects of it. You got into the meditation, and a lot of times when people say they are getting into the spiritual aspects of yoga, that means they're getting into the philosophy behind yoga. I guess, what philosophy has impacted you most from yoga? Is, there is, like, the eight limbs of yoga, so you know.
Right, and we all kind of, what is it, aspire to samadhi. We don't know if we ever get there, but yeah, we aspire towards it. I mean, it's an interesting question. I believe that yoga is a lifestyle. All right, it's not a religion. To me, it's a lifestyle choice, and how you embrace it could vary depending upon who you are. So, how I might embrace it would be different than how you embrace it. But I think that that's okay. So, it's not kind of one thing. It's, I think, trying to integrate it into who who I am as an individual. I know that's
Mhm.
not the best response, but it embraces the spirit of what I'm trying to say.
I guess, has yoga philosophy changed any of your moral code, the way that you, let's just, operate ethically or morally?
I think that it has made me more aware, hence has possibly changed. So yeah, I guess that it has in some regard, but I can't go back to a particular moment to say, okay, this is when it changed. I think it's kind of an evolving. It evolves just like your practice evolves. That too evolves,
Yes, ma'am. Degree by degree.
degree by degree.
Well, is there anything right now that you're currently working on in your practice, or do you ever set goals with your yoga practice?
Right now, I'm getting over, well, I had knee replacement at the end of December on my right knee. And so I'm trying to work on strengthening that leg, especially in terms of the flexion and extension, and getting back to the balance. So it's not working on a particular kind of posture or a particular aspect. I'm just trying to heal. And as I heal, use yoga as part of that healing. So, there are a lot of people that have knee replacements out there since I've learned, but it's also making sure whatever it is in your life that has to heal, to make sure that you are making space for it. Um, generally, we like to jump back into what we were doing and how we were doing it. And when you've had, whether it's a surgery or illness, it's about giving yourself grace to say, yeah, I'll get there eventually. But right now, I have to make sure I get there. And how do I do that? I have to eat properly. I have to make time to rest. I have to allow my body to heal. Ease back into it. And it's
Yeah.
fine because you will get there. But you're not going to be there tomorrow, maybe not even the next day. But you will get back there.
I like that you brought up earlier, though, that yoga is for everybody, regardless of your limitations. Yoga is for you. And I just wanted to point out it's beautiful that your limitations led you to the practice of yoga. And, sometimes we practice yoga because of our limitations, not, in spite of our limitations. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So I think that is an astute kind of, a kind of analogy. So yeah.
yes, yes. So I was like, I just have to say that. um, But okay, so lately for my show, I've been following the 8 limbs of yoga as part of the weekly wellness challenge and kind of going over each uh aspect or each limb in depth. And now I'm in the part of the niyamas and I am
Okay.
on tapas, which
Okay.
is I believe or what I've seen in the translations to be fiery passion, burning your inner fire. I guess, like, how do you build up inner fire or motivation to do things in life? I mean, it could be just to achieve whatever goal that you're, interested in. And I mean, you literally created or built a whole yoga studio, and you have to have a lot of fire to do that. How do you build that up?
Well, I don't know if it's a buildup of fire or is it more of a drive. So, you
Mm.
could equate the two. I would tend to separate them out. For me, it was seeing that there was a void in my community. The void was we didn't have a yoga studio, and I didn't understand why. And so I started thinking, well, what's needed? There were some opportunities that had presented themselves, which again enabled me to move forward with creating the yoga studio. It's kind of part of a mini health and wellness hub in the building. And so there was a passion in me, going back to your question, that I wanted to provide yoga to my community. I wanted to be able to have a space where we offered different styles of yoga, even though it's heavy in vinyasa. We also have sound healing, we have meditation, we have candlelight journey, we have yin, we have restorative, looking for kundalini and a hatha teacher. Um, so that people can have different experiences. I think a lot of times people just experience yoga in kind of with one style. I wanted to create a space where there are different styles of yoga offered and have people kind of identify which one is speaking to them. Or it may be more than one. It's like these are the ones that really kind of speak to me in terms of who I am as a person and in terms of the lifestyle that I live.
Well, I know that you offer, an array of types of yoga at your studio. Is there any criteria that you look for in a yoga instructor? What makes them a good addition to your community?
Well, I think there it's important to me that a yoga teacher has his, her, or their voice. It's not something that has been kind of packaged and it's like, all right, this is the way that you teach, that you have grown your voice as an instructor. It is important to me that they are, he, she, they are able to offer customizations or modifications to the postures. Um, but it's really about having a clear voice in terms of how they teach. So it's just not, okay, inhale, raise your hands to the up to the sky, exhale, forward fold, inhale, half, so you could do breath to move, whatever, whatever, but how are you really helping the students? How are you truly cueing them to help their bodies get into the posture? And what modifications or customizations are you providing them? So, for instance, chair pose, and anyway, squeeze, you bring your feet together, bring your feet together, squeeze your thighs, sit back and bring your glutes back and down, lift your chest up, your hand, raise your hands toward the sky, ears by your biceps, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's all fine and good. But if I have some limitations, my feet aren't necessarily, I'm not going to be able to squeeze my thighs together. I'm not going to be able to stand with my feet together. I might not be able to raise my hands over my head like that. So, what are other ways that you can teach me that I can still benefit from the asana? And I'll make it my own. This would be Julia's chair pose. So for me, my feet normally are hip width distance apart, maybe a little wider because of some issues. You know, bring my glutes down and back, lift my chest away from my thighs. Well, if you are uh, very full figured and stuff, that's going to be a little bit challenging. So just be where you are. Put your hands at heart center, place your hands on your hips. So those are the types of customizations that my instructors bring. It's not like this is Julia's way, then they have their own way of however they talk their students through it, but offer it up. So, downward dog. Not everyone can do a downward dog. All right, then come down to your knees. Stay in a tabletop position. And then, when you say inhale, look forward, then make your way to the top, forward fold. If you have a hard time in terms of some back issues, maybe the forward fold is uncomfortable. So just come to standing and we'll meet you there.
Mm. Well, no, thank you so much for sharing. And you made some great points just about what makes a good teacher and just about how to make yoga more accessible for everybody because that is important. And sometimes I know being in certain spaces or you're going to a certain class or even just watching a YouTube video, it's not always customized to something that works for specifically you. So just having people with us to help guide us through these hard movements and positions is important, much like life. We need
Yeah.
people there to help us
Well, that's true. And
guide us.
props are there to help too. So your blocks, I mean, saying a forward fold, if you walk your hands over to well, my hands might not touch the mat. but that's okay. I can have my blocks on it. I could walk my fingers on my blocks to the left. I could walk them to the right. I mean, they're all different types of ways because at the end of the day, it's important to me that all the students that leave Studio Yogi feel as though they've been successful in their practice for that day, whatever, however they are defining success.
Yes, that's amazing. I mean, thank you for sharing that because, as I teach, I want to carry that with me too. Is that I do want everybody to feel successful with their practice, that they feel like they're walking out stronger, more clear minded, or more relaxed, or more mindful, or just whatever their goal is, that they feel like that they're better at that. And it is just, we should all want to help each other, and that's the place to be. There was one last question that I was going to ask you as you've opened your studio. Is there anything that has been a surprise or that you learned?
I'm constantly learning. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I think that there have been that not a, because when you have studios, they're really kind of focused on a membership model. Not all people are membership kind of driven. And so we have an inordinate amount of drop-ins. That was a surprise to me. Based on their schedule, if you don't want to make the commitment or what have you, and that's fine. I mean, our drop-in fees are $12 a class. All of this, the fee structure was designed to make it accessible. So I guess one of the surprises was that we're not doing as many memberships as I would like, but that's not maybe the lifestyle of the residents in my community. And so you adapt to that.
Do you ever worry about making a profit and keeping your business going versus making yoga accessible to everybody?
Oh, that's a very good question. I mean, it becomes a strategic trade off. So eventually, I'm not making a profit now. I'm hoping that within the next year we will be profitable, but we just opened our doors. So it will take some time, I think, to, you know, have that awareness within the community that Studio Yogi is here in South Shore. It's here for you. Does it worry me? Again, I'll go back to my meditative state. I can't, if I focus on that worry, then I would be ineffective in terms of trying to establish Yogi's footprint within the community.
That's a part of yoga too, is sometimes just doing things for the love of it. And, maybe I'm not seeing the profit right away, or I'm seeing the end goal right away, but I
Well,
love
it's an
this. And
investment. I mean, so sometimes you
yeah.
have to give your investments a moment to grow.
Yeah, like sowing seeds, and that's
Exactly.
beautiful. So thank you so much for serving your community, just making yoga accessible for the South Side of Chicago, because we need people like you. So thank you so much.
Oh,
Um,
well, thank you so much for having me. I did want to mention, because I had mentioned to one of the yoga instructors at Studio Yogi, Alexis Dupree, because she also teaches at other studios around the city, that she did this really wonderful guide. It's Chicago Black Women's Yoga Instructor Guide. And so she put this guide together because she wanted to be able to kind of mobilize, um, Black women who are engaged in wellness, and particularly from yoga. Who are these instructors? Who are the Black owned studios in the city? And I think we only have 5. So it's a good resource. It's on my website and it's also at littlespaceswellness.com too. So I wanted to kind of uplift that to your listening audience because I think it is a good resource.
yes, I'll make sure to put that in my show notes For sure.
Okay.
But thank you so much. Before we go, of course, I'm going to ask you just to lead us through a quick pranayama, your choice, your style, uh, whatever cues you would like to give.
Okay. So just take a moment where you are, find a comfortable seat. I invite you to close your eyes or maybe gaze at the floor and begin to listen to your normal rhythmic breath as you breathe in and as you let go. Start to notice how your belly swells, how your chest expands, your shoulders broaden on the inhale. And as you let go, your shoulders soften, your diaphragm, and then your belly. Take a moment and just give yourself a moment of grace as you draw your senses inward, being present, focusing on the beauty and majesty of your breath, on every inhalation and every exhalation. Maybe take a quick scan or exploration of your body. Notice if there are any places or spaces within that have tension or bring you discomfort. Direct your breath there. Allow your breath to be those pulsating fingers that bring calm and relaxation to that space within. Visualize your breath as it ebbs and flows through your body. Consider thinking about the relationship that you have with your breath. I'll silence my voice until it's time to bring us back. Breathing in, filling up and letting go. As you breathe in, begin providing nourishment to all of those cells and organs within. And as you let go, you release things that are no longer needed in you, sending them back to Mother Earth so she can reclaim that and use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you for being a model of Black excellence. I'm so happy to have
Oh, that's a high bar now.
No, I'm happy to have a yoga studio owner on my show. Thank you so much for coming and spreading your light and sharing your story with us. And with that being said, namaste.
Ashe, namaste.
Ashe, namaste. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Tune in to the Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, Saturdays at 10 a.m., Sundays at 9 a.m., or catch me on Apple and Spotify where I post extended versions. To keep up with me, follow me on Instagram at Consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. Weekly Wellness Challenge. For the Weekly Wellness Challenge, I've been following the 8 limbs of yoga philosophy. I'm on the niyamas now. So this is a moral code, behaviors for how we live our lives, our disciplines, just how we operate in our life, our own lives, basically. You know, you have how you treat other people, but niyamas is more like how you treat yourself. Anyways, so last week I did Santosha, which is contentment. And for that challenge, I decided to practice gratitude. And of course, with the dandy old journal, I was like, let's get up and write down 3 things we're grateful for every single day as soon as we wake up. Did I do that? Yes, I did. And I like it. I really like it. And starting my day off like that, in addition to other things, I have found is how you can be just a really productive, high energy person. Like, just get a lot done in your life, and it just really changes your day, really changes your outlook. I like it. I'm gonna carry that with me. I'm gonna try to keep that up. Just every morning, getting up, writing down things that I'm grateful for. Gratitude is the attitude. There's nothing wrong with that. And just being content in the moment, being grateful for how far I've came, and grateful that I'm still alive and how far I've got to go. So contentment, great. This week's challenge, tapas, which is discipline or austerity or burning enthusiasm or passion. Well, this is all about the fiery discipline. It's like a burning passion within. Doing things because, again, you're motivated. You have a goal. You want to do something. You're passionate about something. You love something. You feel it burning inside you. Like, I just have to do it. Kind of like the 3,000 miles or whatever challenge you're doing. Even there's a lot of, it's Ramadan has started. A lot of Muslims around the world, they are approaching Ramadan with this fire. They're motivated. That sense of community, all coming together, heading into the springtime, doing this challenge, really self-improvement. So that's fire, that's passion, that's, it's burning inside of them. They can feel it. It's really igniting a lot of people to be better and show up better this month. And I love that. And I'm glad for that. And yeah, sometimes we need to build that heat. We need to have that fire. We need to be ignited. I'm learning that sometimes you have to find how to ignite yourself. That I've gone through times in my life where I was, at least when it came to my fitness journey, I was waiting for something to click. I was like, oh my gosh, I need that spark. I need something to click. I need, okay, when's it gonna click? And sometimes it feels like it never comes on its own. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't, So I'm all about in the business, like, how can I get fired up even when, I feel like there is no spark? How can I ignite that spark within myself? And I will say, again, having certain practices at the beginning of your day, so you approach the entire day with that same attitude and all that stuff, it is impactful, it is important. And I can't wait to discover more about that, about the morning routine, and maybe become a morning person. I don't know. But anyways, enough about the fire burning passion, whatever. This week's weekly challenge: how are we going to ignite that fire in us, have that burning passion in us, that self-discipline? How are we going to practice that and observe that every day? Here's the weekly challenge. Every single morning that you wake up, if you don't wake up in the morning, fine, whatever, but within the first hour of waking up, set a timer for 1 minute and do jumping jacks for that entire minute. Don't stop. I'm just saying jumping jacks because it's like a general thing that everybody knows how to do. Get your heart rate up. Get your blood pumping. It ignites that fire, especially if you do it for a full minute. You get your blood flowing, you get your oxygen through your blood, and that's good to do within the first hour of waking up, especially if you wake up in the morning. And it just takes 1 minute to just change your day, change how you move throughout your day. But it doesn't have to be jumping jacks. Whatever little exercise you'd like to do for 1 minute that just gets your heart pumping, that gets your blood flow, that's enough. But, you know, the other day I got up in the morning and I did sun salutations in the morning, and I had a really good day that day. Versus mornings where I don't do that, and I might be dragging. But, you know, it's important to ignite that spark, ignite that fire, get a little pep in your step when you do stuff, move with purpose, especially at the start of your day. So I find that if most of my days are lagging and it's like doing this every single morning, coupled with some gratitude and some affirmations. I'm not saying that this is the answer to life, but I don't know what the answer to life is. But, you know, yeah, that's the weekly wellness challenge. Is just every morning, set the timer for 1 minute, get the blood flowing. If you don't know what to do some jumping jacks. If you want to do something else, then do push-ups or do sun salutations. If you know the sequence to sun salutations, just do as many as you can in 1 minute. Do burpees. Do as many as you can in 1 minute. Every single morning, within the first hour of waking up. It's that simple. That's the weekly wellness challenge. We're igniting fire within ourselves. We're entering spring with passion, with fire, with purpose, with pep in our step. And yeah. And that's the show. Before I go, I'd like to end with a quote. Of course. This quote is from Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the quote is, "Self-improvement, the basis for community development, because it is the improvement of each of us as human beings." And I like that quote because, you know, this is all about self-improvement. This entire show, I'm talking about, you know, doing all these crazy challenges, trying to become a better person and, you know, get up and have these great morning routines and do all these things to be better people, run, practice yoga, get your heart rate up, get your blood flowing, eat healthy, blah, 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 blah. All this self-improvement stuff, it is important because when we improve ourselves, we improve the community. When we improve ourselves, we improve the collective. When you become a better person, everybody you cross paths with becomes better. And it is just that simple. Be the change you want to see, right? Very, very cliche, and we love that. It's cliche for a reason. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to The Perfect Prana Show on 88.1 FM WCRX, also available on Apple and Spotify, where I post extended versions. Follow me on Instagram to see what I'm up to. Sometimes I post the quotes. I post what I'm doing. I was just at a small business expo, and if you were on Instagram, you would have saw that. I was just doing a giveaway for a free yoga class, and if you followed me on Instagram, you would have saw that. So anyways, follow me on Instagram at consistently Kyah, consistently spelled with a K, Kyah spelled Kyah. It's been lovely talking with you guys, and with that being said, the light and darkness within me bows to the light and darkness within you. Namaste.